Okay, it's time to dissect the statement of dogs are man's best friend. So, how can dogs be man's best friend? So, we're going to look at lab mice today. So, over 120 million mice are used annually in biomedical research worldwide, around 11 million to approximately 100 million mice, the most commonly used animals in clinical studies due to their genetic similarities to humans and rapid production rates. So, these mice are out there doing medical research so that you can continue to use medications, have surgeries, and even have pet meds. So, how are dogs man's best friend when mice are doing all this? So, yes, mice are used in research related to veterinary medicine. So, they take mice and do experiments on them so that your doggy can have a safer medication or a safer surgery, or a stomach resectioning after your dog eats something. Mice are commonly used for testing of surgery procedures, healing, supplement use, all of that kind of stuff. So next we're over at Wikipedia, where the results are not updated very well, but we're looking at the results of death caused by dogs. So how is the dog your best friend when this is what's happening? Facial surgeries, maulings, and death from dogs. So it seems to me like the statement of dogs being man's best friend, it's just bullshit. I'm thinking these mice are helping you out a lot more. If it wasn't for these mice, what about all the prescription meds and surgeries that people use? Depression, anxiety, heart problems, kidney problems, liver problems. All the meds that people take every day are partially clinically trialed on these little mice guys. They die and live so that you can have safe medication. While you sit at home and spoil your dog is never really going to do any of this type of amazing work that these mice and rats do. Interesting. So, like I was saying, a good portion of Americans, according to these two sources, 45.8% are using prescriptions. Now, some people are using like 8 or 10 prescriptions every day, even like little kids and stuff. And many of those prescriptions are tested on these guys first. That's how they get to clinical trials and then to human trials. So while you sit at home spoiling your dog, these guys are doing all this work so you can take all those drugs. Now, some people might know that we also have used beagles right here. This is a little biomedical research paper that I'm showing you. But here's the thing, guys. It's 95% of all laboratory animals are mice and rats. So, the dogs, they're really just not doing jack shit. I'm sorry. And right now there's so many 501c3 organizations that are trying to shut down any type of dog testing, because they think it's so cruel. Yet thousands and thousands of dogs are hoarded every year. And the conditions that some of these lab dogs live in, they have heat and AC and food. They have a lot better conditions than, for example, the thousands and thousands of stray dogs that live in Texas that are just going to end up dying on the street anyways. So yeah, the dogs really are not a huge part of this as far as testing. 95% is the mice and the rats. Now let's look at something about just surgery. So we're talking about prescriptions, but what about surgery? So rodents are used in surgical procedures, including facial surgeries. So they use the rodents to study techniques about healing, different treatments, different methods of cutting the face open and stitching it back together, and stuff like that. How does it affect the organs? What type of stuff should they use? So, there's so much to read about this. PubMed, surgicalresearch.org. Rodents are a big part of studying up on surgeries that relate to facial surgeries. So why would I talk about facial surgeries? Well, dog bites, especially those to the face, are relatively common in young children and require repeated plastic surgery procedures to address persistent scarring and other injuries. So many kids are sent to the emergency room to have their faces stitched back together, and then they have to return for many facial surgeries. And it's not a simple matter of, well, the child is recovering, he's going to be okay, and then we're going to put the dog through some training and maybe he won't bite nobody. It's not a simple matter, even though people pretend it is. These kids have to go in for multiple surgeries, and they look terrible. People make fun of them. But while American kids are being bitten by dogs and having to suffer plastic surgery, um, these guys are the ones that are testing those procedures. So they'll take this little guy right here. They'll cut his face open, restrict some of the blood to his face to simulate a dog bite, stitch him back together, check how it affects his organs, give it certain types of drugs to see how it affects circulation and everything else, and then they'll use that to repair a dog bite to your kid. So yeah, I think the mice qualify for your best friend more than the dog does. And I know that this is kind of a weird topic and a weird way to look at it, but this just illustrates the blanket statement, tunnel vision thinking of dog culture. When they say a dog is man's best friend, they leave out all the bad stuff that goes with dogs, and they don't mention other animals like horses. Horses were used during the World Wars. Horses are used by cowboys to collect the sheep and the cattle off their property that run off. Meanwhile, we sit around spoiling an expensive dog and saying it's our best friend when it's far from our best friend. It's something that has proven to kill our toddlers. It's expensive. It shits and pisses everywhere. And right about now is when people are going to say, well, if we just train our dogs, it's all about training. So, with that in mind, what is one of the most trained and handled and given the best diet type of dog out there? Well, it's the police dogs, the canine police officer. Well, here's some information. You don't have to take my word for it. This is what those dogs do to kids and other innocent people, costing hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars in all types of different lawsuit cases. Dogs send kids in for facial surgery and other types of life-saving procedures. And these canine dogs are the most trained. So, for all the people that are going to pop in and say, well, training, no. Nope. A dog is a predator, and it will kill you, and it will hurt you. And your little lab mice right here, they're going to test all types of drugs and procedures to put you back together after your dog attacks you. So yeah, I'm thinking we got some competition for the man's best friend right here. See you guys later.